Well, looks like we're finally here. It's been a lot longer than I had expected it to be to upload something. Um, so I'm sorry for those who were waiting for something. Uh, I only have like 2 subscribers at the time of this recording, but yeah. Um, so not a lot of people waiting, I guess, which is, I don't know, I'm not going to get into that. But yeah, so I wasn't really, or I'm not exactly prepared for this. I'm just going to be speaking off the top of my head, unscripted, um, as I will be for all of my episodes. But the question that I wanted to ask today was, do good and bad exist? And the reason I wanted to ask this question was because a lot of people do think that good and bad exist, but I don't. And I guess I wanted to propose an argument for why that's the case. Now, the reason I don't believe that good and bad exist is because there are a lot of things that I think can be good, but can also be bad. And I think that's just, it doesn't make sense to me, to be honest. I think the idea of good and bad in the moral sense just prevents progress. Because this is an example I like to use a lot, Let's say you have somebody who is a serial killer, right? And you know that they have killed people and that if you let them go, that they're going to kill more people, right? And you ask yourself the question, should I kill this person? If you do have the power to, or the authority to kill that person, right? But, what was I saying? All right, so let's say that this person, right, this serial killer or whatever, and you ask yourself the question, is it right or is it wrong to kill this person? Well, I would say, I guess let me first go to their side of the argument, right? For somebody asking themselves whether it's right or wrong to kill that person, they would say, well, it's right because they killed people and I deserve to kill them, even though I think killing is bad in general. But I would say, well, do what you think is more beneficial for society, right? Because if you're using your morals as a way to do things, I think that's just preventing progress. Now, is religion a part of this? Yeah, religion does play a huge part in people's morals, what they believe, what they do, what they think, you know. But I do believe that people can be religious and amoral at the same time. And the reason why I believe that is because the thing is, people get their morals, or a lot of people get their morals from religion, right? Like, for example, Christianity, or, in the 10 Commandments, it says, thou shalt not kill, right? The first one. I think that because it says in the Bible that you shouldn't kill, that killing is bad. But would killing be not bad if the Bible didn't exist, or if God said not to do so? Right? Now, if God says to kill, then that's a completely different story. Or maybe it isn't, but I'm not really sure how to break that down at the moment. And like I said, I want to stay on topic. But the thing is, if God says not to kill, right, then people aren't going to kill because they see God as like an authoritative figure, right? So, of course, people are going to do what he says, right? And not only do what he says, but base their entire lives around what he says. And base their way of living off of what he says, right? And I think you can kind of sort of see Christian influence on like our laws, or at least American laws, right? But and that's another point I wanted to make, is that a lot of people think that things are wrong because the law says that they're wrong, right? But I always say, slavery was once legal, right? But does that mean that it was right, or that it was ever right? And the answer, I wouldn't say that it was right, because, I don't believe in right, but I wouldn't say it was wrong either. Now, before you guys start to come at me, I want to, first make my point. So just hear me out for a second. All right. So I wouldn't really ask the question of, is slavery right or wrong, but more, is it beneficial to society? And, I don't think it I really don't know how to say this without sounding like a racist or anything. But look, there's there's a reason why it existed, right? Let's be honest. But I don't support it. That's the thing. I don't support it because I believe that people, I don't think people should be treated the way that slaves were treated, like animals, like property, like objects. People, they have feelings, they have emotions, they have their own thoughts. They shouldn't be doing all those things, especially without pay, But yeah, the whole slavery thing just wasn't good, I guess. But the reason why I don't support it is because, well, no, I just said why it isn't right. But yeah, okay, so let me get back to my first point. Sorry for getting off topic. The point that I wanted to make about being religious and also amoral is that I don't think people should get their morals from religion, right? I think people... Okay, now where I think morals come from is a whole nother video that I'm actually planning to make, so I really won't get into it much in this video. But I don't think people should get their morals from religion. I think religion should be used as a sort of... Well, the whole point, really, if it's a theistic religion, is to glorify the god or gods, right? If it's non-theistic, though, I think it probably is a form of, or a source, not a form, but a source of morality for some people, or a guide on how to better yourself, right? Or live a more fulfilling life, or I guess become a better person. You can see something like this with like Taoism, for example, being one with nature or one with the universe. I'm not really sure how that religion works, or really any non-theistic religion. But yeah, or another commandment, thou shalt not steal. And I'm going to be using Christianity a lot because that's the religion that I know the most about, right? But it says thou shalt not steal, and for that reason a lot of people don't steal, or stealing is illegal. But to me, I see stealing not as good or bad, but because I think in some situations, stealing can be the more beneficial thing, right? If somebody steals from a store and then you steal from that person to give it back to the store, I think that that's a good thing to do, right? That's the thing that would be more beneficial to society as a whole. And that really is the point that I'm trying to make, is that people shouldn't be asking the question of, is something good or is it bad, or is it right or is it wrong? They should be asking themselves, is this the most beneficial thing to me or to my community or my loved ones? How will this affect me and the people around me in the long run? I think that's why I think that can be the reason for why people do a lot of the things that they do, or think a lot of the things that they think subconsciously, or even unconsciously. Because, look, I know this all sounds like it sounds like a pretty crazy idea, but I honestly think that if society was amoral, it would be more or less the same, or if not better, because I think it's a more rational way of thinking. I think a lot of people do a lot of the things that they do based on emotions. And, I think everybody knows that emotions aren't really the way to be doing things, or they aren't the things that should be guiding what you do. Now, emotions, obviously, I do think are an important part of being human, right? The human condition, but I don't think that they should be the driving factor behind what people do. I think what people do should be driven by their logic, by their reason, right? That's why we're at the top of the food chain. And I think anybody that does things driven by emotion isn't really living their life properly or to the best of their ability, right? Because I think that the human brain is, I think we're honestly beyond morals, if that makes any sense. I feel like humans just don't need morals to guide them. I think people should really be living their lives based off of past experiences, logic, reason, probability, things like that. I'm not going to say science because I'm not a believer in scientism. The idea that science is a scientific answer is the absolute answer of every question, right? I do believe in metaphysics. I'm not an entirely atheistic kind of guy. It doesn't appeal to me. But like I said, most people know that doing things by emotion isn't really the way to go. I don't think people should be doing things because they're angry or because they're sad or because they're even happy. I think even happy can be kind of extreme sometimes. And, I think morals just by default or by their nature are supposed to invoke emotions of some sort. They're I think morals kind of by default play on your emotions. Really, I don't think morals really have any logical basis, to be honest. That's kind of why I want everybody to just do away with them, because I don't think that they're really beneficial, like I said, especially since everybody else has different morals. Like how do you come to a consensus of some sort if you think that murder is wrong and you're trying to talk to somebody who thinks that murdering is right? I think we should all just get rid of them and try to come to a consensus based on what the effects or what the consequences of our actions will have on our society. And I also want to apologize before I go any further. I know the question is, do good and bad exist? But I'm kind of making this more about should good and bad exist. And I think I've already answered that question, so I'm going to get back to the main question, because I really don't like to go off on tangents like that. But I think that was a bit necessary just to prove my point a little bit. But I'm going to get back to the do good and bad exist. So do they exist? I think no, they don't exist, really. And that was really my answer. Now, ultimately, I think it does depend on the individual, because if you ask anybody else, they'll most likely tell you that good and bad do exist. But me, I don't believe that they do. And I really just wanted to share my share my viewpoint, really. And that's what I'm hoping that I'll do with the rest of these videos, with this podcast, really. I'm kind of doing this podcast just to share my views, to hopefully learn something, to hopefully teach people things. I think everybody needs to be a little intellectually challenged, every once in a while. I think that's good for the progression of our society, I suppose. But yeah, I'm just gonna wrap it up with that. I know there was only about 15, 16 minutes, but I know that there was a lot of information to unpack, I guess. And, I understand that people have their own worldviews, their own values and morals, right? And to have that changed can be kind of difficult. And, I'm not trying to change anybody's beliefs. I'm not trying to change anybody's worldview or anything. I'm just sharing my views in hopes of maybe guiding the world to having a more open mind, more intellectual discussions. Like I said, that's really what I want to do with this podcast, and hopefully I'll make some more on some more topics, some more interesting topics. I have a lot of ideas that I want to get through with this channel, hopefully. So, yeah, I just want to end it and leave it on that note, I guess. So, I guess why don't you guys just do me a favor and ask yourselves this. Do good and bad exist? See you next time.